Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the LocMania Podcast, where we get locked up and locked in into all things wrestling. I'm your host, the recruiter, with my two best wrestling mark friends.
I'm looking for the mark.
It's you.
It is you. You're right. Of course, the chosen here with my co-hosts.
As always, Ace.
Oh, we'll just one.
Indeed, and quite a lot to talk about. We're officially on the road to WrestleMania, filming this January 28th, day after Royal Rumble, baby.
Boy, oh boy. What a Royal Rumble it was.
Interesting Royal Rumble.
Yeah, interesting indeed. We'll get into nitty gritty, but like usual, let's lock up.
Indeed, let's get locked up. First thing I personally want to talk about with the Royal Rumbles, let's talk about the winners. I feel like Bailey, after a while, it was either kind of like she may be injured or she's winning, just because I don't know if anybody really noticed, she was having a lot of communication with like referees.
Well, she's got a history of knee surgeries.
I know that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like either injury or those referees are like feeding her spots.
Well, I don't want to break kayfabe too much, but
I'm gonna go on a limb. Just first off, I want to say, yeah, I called it in the beginning.
You did.
Bailey for the win. Now the decision is, what's she going to do with it? Is she going to go World Heavyweight Champion? Is she going to go against Mommy? Is she going to go against Rhea? Is she going against Io? Turn on Damage Control.
I saw something on Twitter about her going against Rhea, which is personally not my favorite of the two. I would
agree.
I'd rather her. I feel the more compelling story is going after Io, but Ace, you were talking about it before, about the long-term story past WrestleMania.
Yes.
But I'm not looking past WrestleMania. I'm looking at it, and I'm hoping that the story unfolds going into rather than coming out of.
I would say now, or like Elimination Chamber up until WrestleMania. It should definitely be like falling out period for Bailey and Damage Control, where it's probably, I want to say, like 2 weeks out. It's like, yeah, Damage Control finally jumped Bailey. They kicked her out the group. It's done. Zito, kind of like back in the day with like Triple H and Batista.
Maybe. I would hope that they wouldn't make Bailey look really weak going into it. But yeah. I think a cool angle would be if initially, obviously coming out of Royal Rumble, she's got eyes on Rhea Ripley, but maybe in the time between now and then, her eyes slowly shift from Rhea Ripley to Io Sky. Right. And then we see by the time we get to WrestleMania, or, when we're getting closer, Bailey, they just happen to figure, Bailey really hasn't said who she was going for yet. Right. And then it, comes down to later on in the days, and she's like, you know what, Io? Coming for you.
Coming for you! If you know, you know.
We're gonna have to see though.
Yeah.
But
that's the women's. The men's.
Couple of it takes.
Cody Rhodes, Georgia's own.
I called it.
American.
Whoa!
I followed my heart.
Followed your heart.
And led me to Cody Rhodes.
I'm telling you, man.
My heart got crushed.
And I'm telling you, I think WWE does what I think. If Triple H does what I think he's going to do, build the story. I don't think it finishes at WrestleMania.
Oh, no. My heart just can't take that. I think Triple H really pushed the envelope last year with the loser being the big baby face. But I think after this past year of everything we've seen, I think it's about that time. Like, I definitely would be interested in if the story continued, if it didn't cost Cody finally winning the world title.
No.
Like, I'm not interested in waiting longer for Cody Rhodes to be the world champion.
Like I said 2 weeks ago, Cody doesn't finish. That's another year of Roman Reigns being
that's not a bad
Universal World Heavyweight Champion of the world. But if he's on the show consistently, I have no problem with that. If it's another 2023 year where he had 11 matches, I have a huge problem with that.
11 matches. I believe there are 12 months out of the year. And is that one big one? Just 11 big ones?
And when you think about it, when you think about it, his decision doing that. Think about the time when he was face and he was there 24/7, and they didn't appreciate him then.
Yeah, I talked about it last time. I'm not gonna get into it.
When he turned and he's been now, it's
if he is the top guy of the company, at least be on TV. That's mine. At least be on TV.
He does. But he doesn't have to.
Okay, he was on TV 20 times and had 11 matches. Congratulations.
Look.
Came to Atlanta, did 45 segments of Showtime.
And who popped? I did. Yeah. The people around me popped for those 45 seconds. Yeah. All I'm going to say is Roman Reigns, he ain't no mid-card. He ain't no Logan Paul. He ain't, and nobody's really crying about Logan Paul. Logan Paul be on TV almost as much as Roman Reigns at this point. Maybe just a little bit more. But that's supposed to be a workhorse title.
Yep.
You're talking about the biggest thing in professional wrestling. I am not going to get involved with that because I'll go on a whole rant. I acknowledge my tribal chief. That's going to be the last thing I say about that.
Yeah. We just talked
the Rumble.
Winners of the Rumble. Let's get a little bit more in depth.
Let's get into
the Rumble. Let's start with the women's, of course. That one was first.
Slow start to me.
Slow start. A lot of mixed reviews on the IWC, but the IWC is full of tank top Cheeto dust filled marks online.
No offense to those of you that like Cheetos.
But hold on. I mean, I feel like the Women's Rumble is one of those things you kind of have to watch twice. I'm a big, performance guy. Like, things should be crisp and clean, and it definitely was not that in the first 20 entrants. But when you get to the nitty gritty, a lot of the spots were really, really good. Shout out to Jordan Grace. Shout out to Tiffy Time. Shout out to Bianca Belair. I feel like in the early goings, they were... shout out to Naomi. Shout out to Bayley.
Shout out to Nia.
She was like 23.
She was like 23.
Shout out to that women's roster.
Indeed. One thing I did like that Bayley said during the press conference is she was like, she was even happy no legends came in, since it's like now the women's roster is just so big. You don't need those filler spots that aren't going to win. But in the back of my head, I was just like, Jordan Grace wasn't going to win. You knew that. Roxanne Perez wasn't going to win. You knew that.
Okay.
But it was
Natalia wasn't going to win.
No worry,
you knew that. But I mean, they're in it, but what's the difference between a Jordan Grace and like a Michelle McCool? You know they aren't going to win. Yes, it's a good showing and showing a good collaboration with two different companies. The Forbidden Door, like we already kind of talked about, but it's just like still... It would be nice to see a cool legend. I wouldn't mind a Trish Stratus or a Lita.
But, geez Louise, what do you want? Is anything ever going to be good enough?
No. I agree with it, but at the same time, I'm just like, what's the difference between...
It's people who are wrestling today. You're looking at the Knockouts champion of today in TNA, a whole nother company. I saw somebody post something recently. It was a Jim Cornette clip, and he was ranting, as he often does, but a lot of these rants are, on point, though. It's just his delivery that people don't like. But he was saying, the worst part about the wrestling fan today is that they've lost that childlike wonder. I feel like we're in the habit of taking in everything and chopping it up and dissecting it under a light and a microscope. But the best part about wrestling, And when SmackDown came to Atlanta, we got to go and see that. And I went with my family, and I have little cousins, and my little cousins, they've got that childlike wonder. And I had so much fun, keeping kayfabe with them because, they believe,
Indeed.
And the problem is, I think, with this women's rumble, it wasn't perfect, but the problem is we're taking so much time to dissect it that we're not appreciating for what it was. We got cool returns, in Trinity and Liv Morgan on opposite ends of the rumble, might I add. We got up-and-comers in there, Roxanne Perez, Tiffany Stratton, that played, some decent roles in this. We got, our hitters, Bianca Belair. We got Bayley. We got Nia Jax. We got Becky. We got a whole bunch of women that, pulled their weight and, performed, and it was believable all the way through. Some people who were greener than others, like Maxine Dupree.
Chelsea Green.
Hey, Chelsea Green ain't green.
Ain't right. Shout out. She did her thing.
She ain't green.
Another thing, shout out to
year.
Chelsea Green. I feel like, in a way, she was kind of like the spot monkey. Because, imagine. She got in the corner.
Shout out to her.
Bam! Piper.
Yeah.
Ooh. Nia about to get Piper. Piper more off the way. Bam! Nia. She.
Yeah.
Next you know. Bam! Sandwich on both of them. And she just took it. Last year, she was out in 5 seconds. This year, she was in for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And she just showed out.
And you know what? She still is a historian in the Royal Rumble because, what's her name? Who's a part of the Viking Raiders? Valhalla. Tied her on this one. She was not in for a shorter amount of time than Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green's still a historian. So, shout out. Right. Put some respect on Chelsea Green's name. But I was saying all that to say that I feel like, we've gotten into the habit of really just taking apart these things. And I enjoyed the Women's Rumble. And now to your point about, people who aren't going to win, of course, everybody's not going to win. You're not thinking when R-Truth runs into the Men's Rumble that R-Truth is going to win the Royal Rumble. But you're still interested in what he does when he gets there. And that's the childlike wonder. Even if, it's not the person you think is going to win, what kind of impact are they going to have on the match? That's what I'm looking for. And Jordynne Grace, though I knew she wasn't going to win the Women's Royal Rumble, was tearing that thing up. You remember when she did that deadlift, almost power bomb to Ivy? Yeah. And I was like, damn! She
was flexing with one arm.
You know what I'm saying?
She put her arm down.
Look. And all I'm saying is, I enjoyed her being there. Regardless of if I knew she was going to win or not, I was very interested in, the kind of impact she would have against the rest of the roster and how she,
She looked like a world champion.
Yes.
And
still, she is a world champion.
But she's not in TNA. I'm glad that they treated her well.
Right, and then to go out by the hands of Bianca. That's a top
big fish.
Of sorry to cut you guys off. I feel like that was.
Are you really?
No. Let's talk about the obvious. Jade Cargill finally debuted, and I would like to send out a huge thank you to Triple H. Thank you to Shawn Michaels, whoever produced that Women's Royal Rumble. Thank you for not letting it be the whole 11 women eliminate Nia Jax. Jade Cargill lifted her not one, not twice, but 3 different times in that match by herself, sent her over that top rope, and boom, a star was created in that very moment. Even though she's still, grasping WWE wrestling in a sense. If you watch and know wrestling, you understand what that means. You made a star with her lifting Nia Jax. Point blank period. She looked good, even though she may not be on a Becky or a Charlotte kind of WWE pace now. You created a star within 10 minutes. Even after that, going crazy with Bianca. Going crazy with who else? I think Naomi at one point.
Yeah, yes.
Like,
And Becky
she
Lynch.
showed out.
There's a lot of potential in Jade, and with that, she had a great showing. And there's so much potential, raw potential, like her against Nia, her against Becky Lynch, her against Bianca Belair. Big names that are still doing their thing, and I cannot wait to see what they do for her. Cause just by that moment alone, she's already put value to her name that she's gonna be able to go far.
Indeed, and then I saw that. Sorry, I saw that Nia and Rhea actually are probably going to have that elimination chamber spot. So I'm very, very intrigued on if Jade is going to have a elimination chamber match or even be in the elimination chamber. I would kind of vote that she has a one-on-one match rather than seeing her in another multi-woman match.
Yeah.
And then I'm sorry, right now my go-to, if it's not Nia Jax, is Liv Morgan. I feel like they can have an outstanding match. I feel like it would be really good because Liv Morgan, she's a little different. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it just yet.
And you could draw.
But Liv Morgan got a different attitude about her right now.
And just to add on to that, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like to add on to that, it's a full circle. With Liv and Rhea.
2 years back to back.
Yep.
Second place.
And it's now it's time. World Heavyweight title, she's a different Liv.
Yeah, I think both Royal Rumbles were very well produced. I enjoyed the pace of all of them. You know what I didn't enjoy? This will be my real only gripe about Royal Rumble this year. And I didn't necessarily enjoy St. Petersburg, Florida. I didn't enjoy them as a crowd. I think they were a little dead here and there, and that took away from some of these sections, some of these smaller, drier sections in the Rumble. But, I don't know if I can put all the blame on them, because there were some sections and mainly the women's Rumble rather than the men that were a little more shaky and I guess, a little less likely to get over and, wrestle talk. But, it just, I really wish that they were popping a little more. I wish the pops were a little bigger. They did have some big pops, but, the big pops were the big pops showed what they were capable of, and so when it got really dry, it's like, well,
you can tell.
I heard both sides. I heard them cheer for CM Punk and Cody Rhodes and stuff, and I heard them boo Dominic Mysterio as soon as he came out. Like I knew, you heard they can make noise, but they were just a little bit dry, and that took away a little bit for me. I had to really lock into the action in order to, get into it, because outside of that, I think it was a good show, but it definitely does help when the crowd's on your side to keep that ambiance. And I think that it definitely helped to take away during the dry moments of the Rumble. It felt very dry because there was no moisture in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like another reason this Rumble didn't resonate with a lot of people, once you really, really think about it, this Rumble was extremely hyped up purely due to what's going on in the wrestling landscape.
Yeah.
People are mad that Liv Morgan was number 30. They're saying, AJ, Sasha, which I will say, I did kind of say, I can see Sasha coming back. After, looking at it and really thinking about it, AJ Lee, she's not coming back. That's just CM Punk's wife. Don't think people always got to come back just because they're with somebody in the WWE, even though Andrade just came back, even though Trinity just came back. I feel like everybody isn't going to come back just because they're married to somebody within the company. But,
Yeah.
Jade Cargill showed out.
There was something I was gonna say. Oh, damn! I was
surprise entrances.
Listening to you go on about that last part.
But I get what you're saying about that with having like talent, legends,
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Before I forget, yes, about the landscape. Yeah, honestly, and I was talking about it earlier, is that this Royal Rumble, I think what a lot of people didn't resonate with was that it was about the Rumbles. I was saying earlier, like on the Royal Rumble pay-per-views, there was always a bunch of matches outside of the Rumble that made, you were really tuning in for the matches rather than being there for the Royal Rumbles. And, there were only 2 wrestling matches outside of the Rumble itself. That's outside both Rumbles. And I think that, put a lot more emphasis, and, people aren't really used to that. So when they were leaning on the Rumble to, carry the show, they're looking for, the excitement that they would get from a regular show out of these Royal Rumble matches. But what we're getting is like triathlons. Like this isn't a sprint down the track, 100-meter dash or whatever. This is a 3K marathon, and we're watching people perform, and people are looking for the sprint. They're looking for, the race. But this wasn't that kind of thing. This was the story being told from the beginning, watching people take the lead and then fall behind, watching people, get in and not even, compete really. Watching, different factors lay into it. And, I was saying it reminded me of like the older Royal Rumbles, like 97 comes to mind, with Shawn Michaels, and it was like him versus the roster. He came in at 1 and won the whole thing and all that, all that mess. And it was really about, the person, overcoming the rest of the roster, because it was a big roster at that time. Yeah. So that's my thing about, because I feel like there's a lot of, I've seen even, and I watched Royal Rumble late, so I was trying to avoid social media, and even on the little bit that I saw people talking about how it was the worst Royal Rumble in history. Like,
oh no,
that was
2016,
so dramatic. Yeah, like the fact that that's even a conversation is wild. Like we watched, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at separate times lose their title before the Rumble, come back and win the Rumble. We watched that one of those years, I think it was the Roman Reigns year, where Big Show and Kane like eliminated everybody, where it was like, okay, well that was fun. Thanks for coming. There's been so many like bad Royal Rumbles. Like this one was good. There was story, and so many things. They did a great job of, for example, Jade Cargill, she comes in and all of a sudden you're just sprinkled with all these options for what she could do now that she's here, who she could face, and all these little things that just get your mouth watering to want to watch more. Like they did such a good job of promoting their actual product. Like it wasn't old faces that you ain't seen before, and was this is WWE now. This is them.
And they really like put some effort between like the showings. Like think Trinity, she came in at number 2. Crazy. That's like as soon as the match started.
Yeah.
Big pop. And then she went the distance. She went towards,
she
bottom
technically
6.
broke the record of Rhea Ripley last year too, but I mean, obviously with like Bayley being the winner, she now
broke that.
Has that record.
But yeah, that's my gripe about all that and the Women's Rumble. We can keep going.
Indeed. Well, I guess that do you guys have anything else about the Women's Rumble?
Congrats to Bayley.
Yes.
I can't wait to see what she does in the future for this.
Absolutely. Shout out to Bayley, but now
Bales.
We have to talk about
hello.
You guys' favorite tribal chief. You guys have to talk about Roman Reigns.
I thought my one. I already knew
AJ Styles. Yep. LA Knight.
Yeah.
And the GOAT, Randy freaking Orton. In my opinion, the match could have been better. I feel like if one more person was in the match, it would have made it a little bit more chaotic, because I feel like even though as a multi-man match, it was still a very, very kind of like organized and like only when this is happening, only this is happening kind of match. Like in the beginning, they all went towards Roman, and then kind of after that, you didn't really see a whole lot of Randy. It was like fixated on AJ and LA for a while. Then, they stepped outside and it was like Randy and Roman, then everybody was outside and it was kind of like, all right, yeah. Randy came in, now he about to do it to LA Knight. He reverses, Next you know, back suplex, boom. Back suplex, boom. Back suplex, boom. Now it's time for Roman. It was just like, I wish a lot of different stuff was going on kind of at the same time, just to give it a little bit more like what's about to happen. Like, is this guy gonna see Buddy in the corner and just stop and be like, and just go after him now, you know?
Well, the one thing I can say I enjoyed about that Fatal 4-Way is they made everyone look strong. They made everyone look like it could happen. Like if it were to be in that situation, it's one-on-one, it's a possibility. But played it smart. Made everything, the blunt force trauma, the Styles Clash, RKO, sold them well. And if it weren't for and even adding in Solo, I'm talking about opportunity.
Yes.
I'm gonna praise everybody else in this match before I praise my tribal chief, because I'll be going the distance.
Oh yeah.
But yes, LA Knight. Yeah. A great showing. I like that what they're doing well with LA Knight is using him as a star and keeping him on a high level. Like he was, it wasn't AJ Styles competing with Randy Orton for, at one point was just, who could run the crowd the most, really. And it wasn't up against Roman Reigns either. It was on the outside with LA Knight. He's got the table spot. Yeah. Well, Randy Orton got a table spot too.
Yeah.
And so, we get to see, the back and forth where, literally LA Knight's in the middle of the yeahs, and here comes Randy, throws Roman onto the table. Like, that's how you do it. That's how you use a table. And then, LA Knight says, well, I could do that. Picks up poor smallest guy in the match, AJ Styles, who took the big bumps tonight or on the Royal Rumble, and throws him onto the table like, yeah, there's your back suplex. Then, Randy tries to get him. He does a backflip. I was like, he could have hit the table. That was dangerous. LA Knight, he's a wild one. But, he backflip over, hits him with the yeah. And then he started ramming him. Like, Randy was taking them spots, boy. He was taking a bump. I saw him head hitting the table. And then, lays him out, takes a step back, lines it up, tries to come for the kick. Randy falls back. He misses with the kick. Randy grabs the tights, pulls him back, gets him with the back suplex on the table. I was like, bro, like, come on now. Like, and that was, just one sequence. And I feel like if there was so much going on, they wouldn't have been able to keep the camera on a situation like that. Like if Roman and AJ started fighting outside of that, they would have been flashing back and forth. And we wouldn't have been able to get, the situation where Randy was like, bam, there it is. LA's like, bam, there it is. Randy's like, all right, well, I'm going to get you. And, you were getting to watch that whole sequence unfold. That's what I enjoyed about this match. Different from you, I enjoyed that it was, singular feeling. Like what it felt like was guys who knew it can only end on the inside, and everybody was looking to get the pinfall. There wasn't like, yes, there was V for Vendetta, but that V Vendetta happened in the ring, There was, a whole bunch going on. Randy, of course, looked really good, got the RKO to AJ. This one was different. Because he caught him still holding on to the ropes. And we had seen that before, but, AJ pushed off when he, got caught like that. That time, caught him with that RKO, turned around, bam, caught LA Knight, shakes his head a little bit, and then, in midair, like you don't even see it. All you see is Roman in the air and
pop,
bam, RKO.
No, that was a clean catch.
And that was right before, Solo got involved, but I'll get to Solo. So, and even before that, the blunt force trauma from LA Knight, close to there. Then Solo gets involved, does his roll to bow, take out Randy, bow, take out LA, stacks him up. I was like, oh, he finna stack him up. I was ready to throw my one in the air. I was like, yeah. Then, you know, goes over to take out AJ Styles. Poor, like, God bless, like, the small space between where the barricade was and Samantha Irvin.
Oh, my baby, Polo,
baby,
Samantha Irvin.
Well, that shit was, excuse me, that stuff was crazy. I don't know where I'm putting this on.
You better watch my woman.
Hey,
I'll fight Ricochet.
You wasn't there to save her.
I'll fight
would have took
Ricochet.
out. Would have took her out. But God bless, you know, the wrestling guys.
Real quick.
Hey, good luck. They were in Florida, not too far. Yeah. But yeah, that was scary. That was scary. But you know, Solo going through the bed. I'm talking about he took that barricade off. He took that thing off. I've seen people like Big Show and Brock Lesnar hit these barricades and they just tip over. But he straight out the thing. I was like, damn. Man. Then AJ Styles come in showing that mean side, whacking people with chairs, and then that man stacks up Roman Reigns. Had him in 3.
Right.
A 3 stack.
Triple decker.
2.
Everybody.
The kick out. Everybody kicks out.
Everybody.
And this is after a Styles Clash earlier. Like, it was like, you know.
Right on top of a big move.
Woo! It was crazy. But my favorite thing, now onto my Tribal Chief. I love that he sold for everybody. Absolutely. Like, you know, he took everybody finisher. Everybody. You know, some people just took 1. Some people took 2. He took 3. Yep. He took all 3. You know, the giving Tribal Chief that he is. I like that Solo got involved, but it wasn't the deciding factor. Like, there was still lots of match to happen after Solo got, you know, effectively took himself out.
Opening stuff like that.
Exactly. And so, you know, we get to the fight, you know, as we come to the end of the match. And my favorite part, when LA Knight's going for that BFT one last time, and AJ is trying to catch somebody by surprise. I don't know who he was gonna hit Roman because LA was coming towards him, but Roman throws him to the ropes, version of a stun gun on AJ Styles. The first time I saw it, before they played the replay, I saw it and was like, AJ's dead. He's dead. Oh my gosh. Because it looked so bad, but on the replay, he really just took it on the chest. But AJ just being such a good sell, you know, it just looked gnarly. It was just nasty looking. But, you know, gets caught on the ropes. What a vet. Rolls in, stands straight up. Roman right off the ropes. Cuts him in half. Pins him clean. 1, 2, 3. It was like, you know, in a world where we have seen the finish be interference spear, it was not that. And Roman Reigns, in his own power, with his own wits and his own tribal chiefhood, took the match to the end and got the win.
Indeed. And then one thing I can say about that, I don't personally agree with the Solo interference, but that's neither here nor there. It was still a pretty decent match at the end of the day. But after thinking about it, I'm glad LA Knight didn't take the pin, because I feel like there is certain things that can just derail momentum, and I feel like if LA would have took that pin, that would have definitely like derailed him, because obviously we're going to be seeing Logan LA at WrestleMania, and I feel like if he would have took that pin, it would have kind of been like a lot of fans don't really care for that match anymore.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I could see a lot of different things come out of this Fatal 4. I could see LA Randy come out of this, them blaming each other. I could also see AJ's tailspin and, you know, him and LA. Him and LA have, you know, the kind of connection that they have. You know, maybe LA stays the target while, you know, AJ spins downward, you know, into this lone wolf thing that he's got going on, because, you know, he feels like, you know, people have been stepping over him, and then he takes the pin. Coincidence? I think not. He grabbed a chair and stuff too. Like, you know, my man's losing it a little bit, but I like it. You know, he's turning heel. Heel AJ is the better AJ in WWE. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so, you know, it was the Fatal 4-Way for me was really good. Like, I enjoyed it. I couldn't ask for a whole lot more out of everybody else. Like, I saw the Phenomenal Forearm, I saw the Stars Clash,
RKO.
We saw the RKO,
Spear.
You know, the Spear. We saw a Superman Punch. We saw Blunt Force Trauma. We got the LA Knight elbow, but he went straight to it, and I like that too. I like that he didn't sit down and wait, and talk to the fans. It was bam, I got him. Let's follow it up. Yeah, and we got this Samoan Spike. Like, it was just perfect. It was great. I enjoyed it, and yeah, for the flack that it gets, it was one of the stronger Fatal 4-Ways in my opinion, because I feel like there's a lot of Fatal 4-Ways where you go in and everybody doesn't look amazing, but everybody came out of this like not looking any worse, than they came in. If some might even be better, so who knows? But I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Oh yeah, and we keep that action rolling.
It was Logan Paul and Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Now that was
Speaking of that, I just saw like a picture of Logan Paul like after the match, real bruised up. I think he had like a cut on his lip or something. Yeah. A whole lot of cuts on the arm, probably after going through the table. The caption: Kevin Owens beat the prime out of him.
Absolutely.
I was like, that is hilarious.
But you know what? Logan Paul was fighting back. Logan Paul looked strong. He was going after that arm. And it helped, And you gotta wonder. You really gotta give it up. You gotta give it up to WWE, because it wasn't that, it was Logan Paul fighting a not 100% Kevin Owens, but they were still able to build it, like, because Kevin Owens is going to give Kevin Owens regardless of if he's not, 100%. Yeah. But it gave an immediate target. Like Logan Paul didn't have to use the in-ring psychology of I'm going to make a target. It was already a target, which is smart. It just made it easier for a guy who's learning the ropes and stuff. Like, I don't think he would naturally go for the hand. We don't usually see that kind of offense. Yeah. But it gave him something to go for. And that, I think, really made the difference when it comes to how well he did in this matchup.
Indeed. And then another thing I can kind of say about Logan Paul is, like, I feel like his in-ring theatrics are getting way better now. Like, he's, talking to the crowd a little bit more. I know there was one time it just like, Kevin Owens did a swanton, missed it. He immediately went to the top rope and he was like, I can do a swanton too. I mean, he missed it, but it adds a little bit more to the match. I think there was one time, like, commentators were saying, like, oh, Logan Paul can't do this. He's like, wait, what? I can't do what? Did it? Got reversed, but I feel like that adds to it. It just, like, when you start having those clips of, like, you're just talking in the match. I know, like, guys like Jimmy Uso has a whole bunch. I know back in the day when Roman, first started having the ring, you saw a ton of clips, just him, talking smack in the ring. And I feel like you're on a different level when you can have in-ring theatrics like that and stuff like that. So even though I'm not a big Logan Paul guy as a person, not the best guy in the world, as a wrestler, kudos to Logan Paul.
Yeah. Every time he's impressed me every time he's like stepped into the ring. Yeah. And like with the names he stepped into the ring with, I gotta give him like some serious props.
Yeah. Yeah, man. He's and you know what? This is what comes with the territory. In order to be respected in this industry in particular, you have to rise to the occasion, and you got to take those bumps, and he's taking them. And it's getting him over more and more as a performer. People still don't like him as a person, so he'll always have heat, I think. But yeah, I thought it was really good. I like that. I like the finish that Kevin Owens got disqualified because me and my WWE mind was thinking that they were gonna have Kevin Owens rocking with the nuts, and then Kevin Owens rise off into the sunset, having beaten the heel at his own game. But instead, he was beat by the system because the ref caught him on 3. Like, literally, I thought that I knew what was happening so much, I wasn't even watching the 3 count. Yeah. I had looked away because I was doing something else, and I heard 1, 2, and then I was like, what? What happened? And I look up, and the referee's pointing at the nuts, and I'm like, oh, he caught him. Yeah. And I was like, no way, that's crazy. So, it was a very interesting finish. I liked it, and then I liked that Kevin Owens beat him up after. Yeah.
One little nitpicky thing I can say about the finish. I'm not saying it does not make sense, but it's kind of like not other people have been caught, obviously using stuff, and it's just kind of like, oh, I already counted it, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been one of those things, and I wouldn't have minded if it was like if Nick Aldis came down and be like, all right, let's restart it. KO's pissed off, like, no, we're not gonna do that. I just beat him. Bell rings. KO's like, whatever. Turn around. One more lucky punch.
Yeah,
Bam.
I mean, but
like, it would have been cool. I'm not
Yeah.
mad at what happened, but I'm not saying it shows inconsistencies, but I feel like something else can happen extremely close to that, where somebody used a weapon is still like in the ring, like where people get hit with titles. The title's still in the ring, and then the ref is just like,
Yeah.
and then the ref is like, oh, why is the title in the ring? What? And it's a situation like that.
Yeah, I mean, but this did was it let Logan Paul retain the title at no detriment to Kevin Owens' image.
Yeah.
Right.
So, he wouldn't be outsmarted by Logan Paul, in that situation. He, reversed it. He got the knuckles off the hands of Logan Paul and put it on his own before, proceeding to knock him out.
Yeah.
So,
still a very
Kevin
good
Owens
match.
definitely did, he showed his prowess and he shows he knows this business. But unfortunately, he just got caught. Like, it happens to some people and people get disqualified all the time. But the cool part was that the ref was the wiser here. The ref was ready for old dude to walk in, Logan Paul's friend, and, quick enough to catch this, nuts on the hand. He's gripped the legs, it's showing, in the pin. And he was, at least had the wherewithal to see it, which, gave the ref a little more personality. I won't forget his face now. But... yeah, good match for me. It made Logan look really good. The psychology was there, and the fact that Kevin Owens beat him up after, I feel like Kevin Owens is probably done with him now.
Yeah, I feel like that was a really good way to set up a rematch too for possibly Elimination Chamber, something like that.
Maybe
where it can be like non-DQ, maybe possibly a tables match or something like that. I could really see, or just street fight-ish kind of match, but
I don't know if I'd do something immediately. I
say Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, give time.
Yeah, give it a little time to cook. Get a couple other people on Logan's radar. He's obviously starting to work with
Grayson Waller
and Austin Theory, which is a good idea. Put the heels together and allow them to work with him so he can learn, better in the ropes, and it could be, that we get more of Logan in a faction-esque type light where he's going up against a group rather than just one person. It'll open the doors, but I think it's probably going to be him done with Kevin Owens. But
for now.
Yeah. And then on to the men's rumble.
Oh boy, Twitter IWC was not happy about that men's rumble, saying no surprises. Oh no returns, things like that. But I feel like once again, the hype of the Royal Rumble was extremely high this year due to like things WWE cannot control. It was way better spot wise than the Women's Rumble to me, but I feel like it wasn't so heavily fixated on who was going to win just because due to so many rumors saying it's really kind of like CM Punk, Cody, or Gunther that's going to win. So I felt like they kind of like took that and ran with it. They was like, all right, let's focus on stories. Because, ooh, boy, they had a seed planter out there and would just throw seeds at that. Throw seeds at that. R-Truth, Damian Priest. Dominic, there we go. Who else? Braun Breaker, shout out to him. And just, it was so good. And then when you finally had Cody, CM Punk, and Gunther in there with Drew too, oh my goodness, it just even got better. You can even mention the start of it was pretty good. With it's starting off with Jimmy and Jay. Nitpick. Sammy shouldn't have been 30. He should have been number 3. I feel like if it was Sammy, Jay, Jimmy, Sammy. Ooh, boy, you couldn't get no better than that right there.
I mean, but that would have been Jay and Sammy jumping Jimmy.
I mean, but
I don't think we would have got like any heart wrenching. Like, is Jay gonna take his brother's side or is he gonna take Sammy's side? Like, I already feel like he already did, and he's on Sammy's side. But I mean, I see what you're saying. Did you want to?
I was going to say, it was just to add on to that Jay had already sided with Sammy.
Yeah,
and
I mean, story speaking, like imagine Jimmy was just beating the brakes off of Jay, and then bam, Sammy comes in. And I was kind of like even, and I wouldn't say like Jay turned on Sammy kind of thing, but it's kind of like, you kind of did me dirty twice. I got my eyes on you, and at the end of the day, I want to win the Rumble. Like, I wouldn't have got mad if like they worked together, then out of nowhere, it's kind of like maybe accidental super kick or something like that, then they kind of start fighting.
Yeah. I didn't mind because that's just, I feel like it's a good idea, but led completely by what's happening in the past and not what's happening presently. But I really enjoyed like I was saying about the women's, I enjoyed the booking of the Rumble. Because it was like we were saying, it was very about WWE at its present place. Like there was Santos and Carlito, there was Jimmy and Jay, there was
Andrade Escobar.
Santos and Andrade and
Bobby and Karrion,
yeah, and R-Truth and Damian and Sammy. Sammy was like he's gonna do everything in his power to make sure that the Judgment Day don't blah 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 before he's taken out by Drew, who takes him out again in this one, so then there's the Drew that then can you imagine, like I'm already seeing it in between the time that the world title is gone because Seth Rollins is healing, it makes so much sense to have Drew McIntyre go after CM Punk. Because who better to talk on the mic about how, everything is Drew McIntyre's fault in the long run than CM Punk, the man that eliminated him from his main event at WrestleMania, which already gives Drew, a reason to come out and address Punk, but then Punk will give him a reason to keep this thing going because he's going to dig into, how what everybody else has been saying, and that's that, Drew's not taking responsibility for his actions.
Yeah.
So, they could be that, or maybe Sammy and Drew might go at it because Sammy was out for weeks because Drew McIntyre put him on the shelf. I really just don't know what's going to happen, but they built to such a place, in the Rumble match where it was like, there's so much there. And I loved the roles that everybody played. I love that Braun, Breaker came in and was running wild on the people. I love that Carmelo Hayes was doing well.
Looked good.
Yeah. I love that they did standoffs where there were, times where guys were, like, it was like a Western movie where everybody's got, their guns holstered, but everybody's like, who's doing what? And there was a couple of those, some early, some late. I do like that, regardless of Braun Breaker, and I want to talk about this. I didn't talk about it earlier, but I heard, I think you told me that Braun Breaker's spot was rumored to be Brock Lesnar's spot. We'll get into why he wasn't there a little later. And what I think is interesting is Braun Breaker got eliminated by Dominic Mysterio. Was Brock Lesnar supposed to be eliminated by Dominic Mysterio? Was that a possible thing? That's just something that lingered on my mind.
And there's
after
that's
seeing
what
happened
online, buddy.
Yeah, there's a lot of articles online saying that it it wouldn't be the first for Guerrero to be facing Lesnar, but
Oh
the first time we've
God.
seen Brock versus.
No, I don't want to see that.
Dominic.
I don't want to see that. Dirty Dom does not deserve that kind of Suplex City trip.
Indeed.
But yeah, but overall, Cody Rhodes, I freaking called it. The Codesters finishing the story.
Number 15.
We're going all the way.
Red number.
All the effing way. Last year they tried to say it's because he came in at 30. Well, this time he didn't, and 15. He won the Rumble.
Yeah.
Cody's doing it for Georgia. Georgia's own Cody Rhodes.
I do not agree with the whole let's try to have the last two guys have a little mini match during the Rumble, because I feel like at the point where it got to Cody and CM Punk, the pace went from a 7 to a 3.5 forward. It turned into
yeah.
And I don't want to blame CM Punk, but it's kind of I looked at the whole vlog he did where he was training with some NXT people, and it's kind of when he was in the ring, it's just kind of that same super fixated on timing, kind of pace. And I know CM Punk isn't the guy he used to be. I know he's in the spring chicken, but he's still the best in the world, baby. He's still the best in the world. And I feel like if you're gonna say you have to be in the best of the world, you got to pick that pace up in matches like that. And then I feel watching the last two, it was all right, I'll like to see a little go to sleep. He misses it, bam, crossroads. Throws him out. But it was kind of hit the go to sleep. Didn't even try to get him out or anything like that. Cody got the Styles crossroads. Tried to get him out. Something happened. And it was just all right, going on 7 minutes, I believe now. Let's wrap this up. Boom. Another go to sleep, and I'm all right, that's it right there. He ain't coming back. Reverses, and I'm all right. Bam, crossroads, and I'm all right, come on, let's wrap it up. I'm kind of getting tired. It's been 4 hours, and then it was finally hit the go to sleep. He caught the leg, and I'm this has to be it, and he threw him out. And I'm finally. Didn't rather have CM Punk win, but I'm not mad at a Cody win too. But it was definitely dragged, that last two to me.
It did. The pace did slow. I liked the tension of it. That's what I enjoyed of the very slow pace. I'm not gonna say it was CM Punk's fault, but he's old. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm not gonna trash him like that because CM Punk did well. I liked, when he came in, he caught his spots in the four corner and stuff, and I loved I didn't wait 10 years to lose to Dusty's kid. I thought that was great. What I loved the most, even more than when Cody Rhodes won the whole thing, when he threw CM Punk out, what I loved more than that was watching Drew McIntyre light up CM Punk with those chops. It was the stuff of adrenaline that feeds my want to watch wrestling. It was just yeah. I think Gunther is he's definitely one of the toughest choppers around, right?
Yeah.
But this isn't Cody's first time, getting those chops, right? I think this is the first time. It's gotta definitely be the first time that Drew McIntyre of today, of his build, of his size, is chopping CM Punk, and it was just the sound of it gave me chills, how in The Lion King he was Mufasa. Ooh, yeah. Do it again. Ooh, do it again. Mufasa, Mufasa, Mufasa. That's what it was like. It was pow. Yeah. straight to the ground.
And honestly, I thought it was gonna be Gunther to give him that type of shock, but Drew said, "F that."
I loved it. And I don't know. No, I'm not done. I don't know if it's true, but I did, read somewhere that CM Punk is not a fan of being chopped. So if that is true, it made it all the sweeter for me because Drew McIntyre was like, "It doesn't matter what you want," and chopped the living crap out of him. Like, I'm greatly considering like just going back to the last, 15 minutes of the Rumble just so I can experience that. I loved that it got to the point where I was locked into it and then I'd fall out, and then I was locked into it and I'd fall out. Like, it was like, they're fighting each other. Him and, Cody Rhodes go, "You know what? Let's just do it. Let's just do it." Right after the standoff, and they're like, going back and forth. They get the little isolated things. And then, I'm watching Gunther and Cody, because I'm like, Cody Rhodes, he's going to win. Cody Rhodes. And, I'm a big fan of Gunther as well. And I'm watching that, and all of a sudden I hear, BAM! I was like, whoa, where did that come from? And I see CM Punk laid. Boy, I'm talking about like body weight is like leaning on Drew. Drew's holding him up, pressing back into the corner. I watch him the second time. Smack! I was like, ooh. Ooh. That looked like it hurt. And then it's so loud, I think, that Gunther looks over and it's like, was that you? No, you can't out-chop me, not in here. And then he starts paying on Cody. And then they get the competition going, so I'm locked into that. And then at some point, because I'm just expecting Gunther to bring the one, so, Drew come with a bad one, pow. Then Gunther come with a bad one, bang. And then it's like, bow, bow. And I'm looking at this, from a competition standpoint. I'm looking at it, watching people sell. I'm watching Cody go from bam, from one corner and literally just go across the ring to the other corner. Yeah. And then as I'm locked into that, pow, I hear another nasty one from Drew McIntyre. And I think after that, I was like locked in to Drew McIntyre the rest of that chop fest. And watching CM Punk go lifeless on the ground off the chop, I was just, oh man, ecstasy. It was great. I really enjoyed it. The Rumble this year was fun for me. I loved it. I love that Gunther was third out, still super protected. He almost won the whole thing,
Absolutely. That's a side note that made me think about the women's Liv Morgan coming in the last two in these past few Royal Rumbles.
It shows how much faith they have in her.
Absolutely.
And then I think it's well played. She looked really good in there as well. She didn't look like she had been gone, which was very impressive. But yeah, her and Sami Zayn. It was nice to see Sami Zayn given the 32 because, Sami deserves that kind of stuff as over as he is. But overall, the Royal Rumble for me, I enjoyed it probably more than the IWC, but that's because they're marks and I'm not. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And for those of you who do get to listen and watch it, if you do get a chance to watch it again, try to keep that childlike wonder about it. Because, only you can take the fun out of professional wrestling. Like, only you can fight forest fires. Is that what you say?
Yeah.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Indeed. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Yes.
And only you can speculate where the best ever wrestler of NJPW, how do you say his first name?
Kazuchika
Okada is going. Obviously it is right now heavily populated that he's going to WWE. A lot of these Cheeto covered marks are mad because he's going to NXT, but my argument about that is I want to say a heavy percentage of wrestling fans only watch WWE. So if you have a huge star come out of a different brand that majority of fans will not know, why kind of push him to go straight to main roster when when he has to learn WWE fight style, same as Jade Cargill. You can give him that, same package, but I feel like he still got to do NXT first. And if you think about NXT, some of the best Japanese stars went through NXT and killed that crap. Shinsuke, Asuka, Kyrie a little bit.
More than little.
Japanese stars kill it in NXT.
But NXT was built different. All those people were black and gold. They were not.
They were. But still, I feel like right now NXT is changing their demographic. I feel like Okada really can fit in NXT. Hopefully, Carmelo is still there. If Okada gets a chance, I feel like they can have a really good match.
I think so too.
I'm not a big NXT guy. I will say that, but I keep my nose and toes in it. I feel like Okada at max 8 months in NXT.
I don't know. I mean, probably if he does end up in WWE, but I'm still not certain that that's where he's gonna go. He just recently was on TNA. Now the likelihood of TNA catching Okada is questionable. However, I did read that he was getting very underpaid at New Japan, which means that if TNA is throwing more money than what he was making, then that might be fine with him. Yeah. Who knows? But, he was just on TNA against Big Rigs. They showed him a lot of love, which was cool, but also he could go to AEW, and I feel strong about him going to AEW, not only because he's worked there, but that it wouldn't require him to move completely to the US. I think he would still be able to live in Japan the way he wants to and work with Japan if he wanted to, and work with Noah and work with TNA and have an ability to wrestle outside of that. I'm just not sure if he's, ready to be locked in the way he was locked into New Japan with WWE, where he could, come to AEW and maybe be the AEW World Champion one day, or he could be the Ring of Honor World Champion, or, whatever, what have you. But there's different ways for them to use Okada on his road, getting up. And they also have stars that are familiar with him that can wrestle with him and get, him more into a pace of the American television match. Yeah. Because, he's a 30-minute classic kind of guy, like regularly. And, matches don't go 30 minutes. So, not here in America. So, it would be interesting to see him, but I'm interested just as much as no, not even. I like Okada, Carmelo Hayes, and maybe, like Okada, Ilya Dragunov, and, some names like that. But I'm more interested in Okada, Konosuke Takeshita, or Okada, Darby Allin, or Okada, Sammy Guevara, or Okada, Daniel Garcia. That's right around same level, young names, but I'm more interested in that. I think they wrestle more the style that I'm interested in seeing Okada do. Not that he couldn't do WWE, but I'm just not certain. I know people have said a lot, but he wasn't at the Royal Rumble,
And that could be a reason, you put all your money towards the women, make people think, they haven't, did any working with Okada. That could be what they're saving, and who knows? It's very
possible. But my pick is for AEW. I think it's a safe AEW. It just seems like the better option. For him to be able to still be free to do what he wants.
Absolutely.
If he goes to WWE, I feel like that's it. He's going to WWE and now he's locked in. But I digress. I think it could be really anywhere. But I wanted to talk about it because we saw him wrestle in TNA. So far, we haven't seen him wrestle anywhere else yet. But TNA could possibly be a name that could steal Okada. I have no idea really.
Talking about TNA, let's have a quick chat about newly known Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler. I feel like right now he's one of the hottest things in wrestling just because of the energy he's bringing to the crowd without even barely being in a match. Like his debut was amazing. When he went to New Japan, Wrestle Kingdom 18, that was amazing. His first match, it was amazing. Didn't watch all of it, but looked at a couple of highlights. I don't know if he won or not.
He did.
He won?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. But give him a year. He's going to be in a match with Moose, most likely, for that world championship, man.
Yeah.
I feel like you can argue with it. Nick Nemeth is one of the best performance wrestlers out currently. He has been that for a very long time.
Because he can go. He's built to go the distance, you know, and he has, you know, tenured as like being on top.
He'll take that spot.
Yeah. Exactly. He just hasn't
crazy spots.
Taken the, you know, hasn't had the push. You know?
Not the effort.
And especially, you know, in his later years, we got to see glimpses of it when he was in NXT. He became the NXT champion, you know, on the Braun Breaker rise.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was the small, you know, glimpse of what he could be. But everybody who's a fan of professional wrestling, and that's people who watch more than WWE, which are the people who watch TNA, which are the people who watch New Japan, know that he is capable of more, and that's why he's such a big fish, you know, now, because everybody knows how good Dolph Ziggler is, or Nick Nemeth, excuse me. So if you're Nick Nemeth, you're gonna show it, and I think it's gonna be obvious. I'm excited to see him in TNA. I think it's a good home for him because TNA is a brand that, though they are restarting, needs a face. Now, the current TNA World Champion is Moose, and Moose very well could be the face of TNA. But Nick Nemeth is coming at a really great time and could, you know,
usurp that.
Yeah, and become the face that becomes synonymous with the re-rise of TNA. And that could, you know, do a lot to benefit Nick, because you know for sure that if Nick went anywhere, he would make whoever he was in the ring with look really good. And so then the TNA champion could go anywhere. I'm sure every promotion that would work with TNA would be totally fine with having Nick Nemeth go in the match. Even if he goes over, he's going to make whoever he's in the ring with look like $1 million.
Yeah.
So it could be, you know, a really smart business decision, but, you know, we'll see. But I think it's a good pick for Nick to go to TNA. I think it's a great choice, and I'm excited to see what happens. But before this is a fairly shorter episode than our last one, but before we, you know, close it out, I would be remiss if we did not talk about, you know, this whole scandal thing with Vince McMahon.
Let's make it very quick.
Yeah, please. I don't want to get too deep into it, but I think that it's, you know, there are a lot of things about society that, you know, about today's society that is so questionable, you know, and it rubs people a lot of different ways. But, you know, one thing that is beneficial about today's society is that, you know, people now will really go to the lengths to make sure that, you know, what, you know, happened in the dark comes to light. And it's really just a terrible situation, and I hate that it happened in the beginning, or that it happened at all. But I am glad that it's come to the light, because whatever Vince gets because of this is what he deserves. You know, our prayers and things to, you know, all of. Hopefully, there's only one, but you know,
there's not.
You know, I just don't want to, but speak it into existence. But you know, our prayers to everybody who is, you know, just involved, and affected by, you know, this and these kinds of things. You know, people in everyday life, and even this. But you know, it's just a terrible thing, and I hate that it had to come to this, you know, to get the truth out of, you know, the kind of person that Vince McMahon is. And I don't want to put any positive light on it at all, because it's a really terrible situation. But it's just, you know, I'm glad that it's forcing him out.
Indeed,
you know,
indeed.
I hate that it had to be like this, but I'm glad that it's
getting him out.
Yes.
And one thing I can say about it that I kind of hate, is just like I've looked at a couple of, you know, news sources, you know, YouTubers, wrestling creators, or whatever, kind of, you know, put their 2 cents in. One thing I hate that I kind of have to hear realize like he's a billionaire, so like whatever can happen, he can kind of like afford to like finesse his way out of it. And it's just like to me that's crazy just because this is the second offense. There are horrible screenshots of text messages out, and then honestly, if you want to like look into
Please
the Vince
don't.
McMahon stuff, it's on the internet.
Yeah.
Like you
It's
literally just gotta like type in his name.
Yeah.
But I feel like after 2 back to back where he kind of like the first one came out, he like dropped out, not saying I'm retiring or whatever.
Yeah.
Came back in for the TKO merger or whatever. Now this came out. Now he's out of TKO.
Yeah.
I feel like Vince McMahon is now up there with name redacted CB as well.
Well,
like
yes,
they're two
that's
different.
What
things.
they took him out of everything WWE, even his profile on WWE has been
no,
taken
but
down.
I mean like how people don't want to bring up.
I mean,
redacted.
They do.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Vince should be on that same light.
Yes,
in my
I mean
opinion.
because he's retiring in disgrace twice. But I digress. I think it's just I hope that the justice system works out and he gets what he deserves.
Lock his ass up.
But aside from that, WWE is obviously on the rise. Like I think this Rumble, though different from former Rumbles and things like that, I like what we saw, and I like that it was about the roster. Like it, I'm not opposed to having new names and people come in, but I like that it, really depended on the roster, and I like that it was about the Rumbles. Like the Elimination Chambers are about the Chambers. The Money in the Banks are about the Money in the Bank matches. The Royal Rumble should be about the Royal Rumble. And I think, honestly, I wouldn't be mad if the structure was like this moving forward, where there is only 2 matches outside of the Rumble, where, the bulk of the show is us in the marathon.
Yeah.
But, for those who are listening, you let us know what you thought about the Royal Rumble.
Indeed. Put it in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that.
Road to 100.
Good stuff.
Road to
100. Next episode will be recorded on the 11th. How does the week? We are getting pay-per-views always the week before.
Good.
Yes. So next episode on the 11th, we're going to be talking about Elimination Chamber, obviously, doing predictions, obviously. And whatever
else.
Probably going to hopefully this Vince McMahon stuff will be done.
I don't
want to talk about that
anymore.
quick.
Yeah.
And just be like, this happened. Boom.
He went to jail. Great. But yeah, it'll be great. I'm excited to talk about it. And tune in. Get locked up with us. Get locked in with us. Lock in with LocMania, because we lock it up.
Indeed. Twitch streams every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday at 8 o'clock. Thank you, everybody who tuned in to our second ever episode of the LocMania Podcast. Once again, I am your host, The Recruiter, with my 2 favorite wrestling marks. I'm going to keep saying it. That's my thing now.
I'll never answer to it.
Yeah.
I'll never answer to it.
We don't see marks.
But while we look for those marks, his co-host, The Chosen, and of course,
still looking for those marks.
Yeah.
But other co-hosts, as always, Ace. Good night.
Tuned in.
Well, maybe good morning. Who knows when you'll listen to this? Goodbye.